Right, so Tory has-been minister, now on the backbenches, Theresa Villiers, has been a naughty little monkey, having not mentioned more than £70,000 in interest in polluting oil giant Shell while she was the Environment Secretary. I don't know how they could possibly forget such things. We don't actually know how much in the way of interest she has there, incidentally, because you only have to declare them in the Register of Financial Interests if they amount to more than 70,000. So it's actually worse than the headlines imply. Oh, she didn't break the rules, we're told, though. You work that one out, then. Oh, she didn't declare it. Oh, it's all okay. It's managed for her, you see. She doesn't take direct decisions in her portfolio. It's a simple oversight. It's just a little thing. She's apologised. There. All done. Nothing to see here. Oh, all right. Okay, then. Does she take the dividends, though? Yes, of course she does. She wouldn't keep the shares if she didn't have a financial interest, if she wasn't getting something out of it. So she has a personal benefit ensuring Shell did okay, then. She must have been laughing her head off on the quiet whilst we were struggling to pay our energy bills, laughing all the way to the bank while we were struggling to work out how we were going to feed ourselves this week. My God, do this lot just make the rules up as they go along? Don't answer that, we all know the answer. The ethics advisor told her it was fine as well, apparently. Let's pass the buck on to him too, then. An unknown Tory source, one of those again, apparently trotted out the line, nothing she did at DEFRA influenced her shareholdings. Well, she was only there 6 months, but not really the point. Really does dot the I's and cross the T's as far as Tory commitments to fighting climate change or the absolute lack thereof are concerned, though, doesn't it? Green Party co-leader Adrian Ramsay put it best, I think. He's issued a statement saying, of course it is unacceptable that the former Secretary of State didn't register the shares when her holding increased in value. However, what was the person in government with the responsibility to deliver its key environment policies, including moving us away from fossil fuels, doing with shares in Shell at all? We need representatives in Parliament focused on freeing us from our dependence on oil and gas, which is destroying our planet, and instead investing in the energy sources of the future, wind, sun, and water. Quite right too, no argument for me there. But all of these denials and claims that she wasn't influenced by her shareholdings, I kind of wonder what sort of person would want shares in the fossil fuel industry anyway, and what their thinking might actually be on environmental issues generally as an MP, especially being put in charge of the environment brief by Boris Johnson, as it doesn't convince me she's somebody who cares about the environment if she's his sort of a pick. So I toddled over to the theyworkforyou.com website. I don't know if anybody of you have ever visited there before. Brilliant place to more easily analyse an MP's voting record. It breaks it down somewhat, makes it a lot easier to go through. Far more people should be looking at that site and seeing what their own MPs are up to and what they're voting on in various different policy areas. And the headline voting characteristics for environmental votes for Theresa Villiers were rather interesting. For example, her voting record shows she generally voted against greater regulation of fracking to extract shale gas. She voted against measures to prevent climate change, and she voted against financial incentives for low carbon emission energy generation methods. So she's not exactly environmentally friendly, is she? Her portfolio, of course, couldn't possibly have been influenced by such thinking, by any of these. Of course, this isn't the only time a Tory has been caught out with their finances and played the, oh, whoops, I forgot that card. The current Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, forgot to mention 7 flats he just happened to own. Jacob Rees-Mogg makes most of his cash with investments and to avoid taxation lives off of loans he awards himself from his business interests. A rather large £6 million loan, however, he forgot to mention that, however. I mean, it's pocket change, isn't it, £6 million? We've all forgotten a few spare millions in our time, haven't we? And then there was Dr. Death, Ian Duncan Smith. He forgot he got paid £25,000 by a hand sanitizer company when he was chairing a task force recommending new rules that directly benefited companies who made hand sanitizer. And let's not even get on to Rishi Sunak. Oh, come on, let's do it anyway then. Infosys, anyone remember them? Still dealing in Russia, are they? Still benefiting via your wife's portfolio as a result of Russian business dealings, are you, Rishi? Lovely new budget policy on childminding you came out with in the budget earlier this year. Why, you can double the perks, though, if childminders choose to work for certain favoured agencies, though. Oh, look, Kuru Kids. Your wife's got interest in that one, doesn't she? Moderna are building a lovely new state-of-the-art plant here. Do you still have those shares in Thalim, who were amongst their biggest investors, do you, Rishi? I appreciate they're in a blind trust. You can feign ignorance over such things, but you must know if you sold your Theleme shares, Rishi, because you definitely had them once upon a time, you helped found Theleme. The Tories turned being on the take into an absolute art form. This story about Theresa Villiers is a bit of a Theresa who. She's not been about for a bit in prevalent terms, but the story for many, really, we see it happen so often amongst government figures, it barely registers as news anymore. But we shouldn't be so accepting of it. If this was France, they'd be taking up torches and pitchforks and smashing cars up by now. We barely raise an eyebrow because we've become so used to corrupt politicians. They're only going to get worse and continue to fail us if we don't say something along the lines of, "Oi, you! No!" and tell them to get on their bike. We'll happily give them a push start. Promises that it'll never happen again fall on deaf ears because we know it will. But we need to stop accepting that at the same time. We need to say, no, enough's enough. If you're not going to run this country properly, if you're not going to constantly be on the take yourself, then op it. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Please leave a comment and have your say on it as well. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation where it's not just Sunak potentially coining it all in from Russia, but the largest Tory donation in years may well in part stem from Russian business dealings too. So the entire party's in on it. Surprise, surprise. I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.